In today's video, we're going to spend some time going over a lot of the common lingo that is used today in app development. This video is brought to you by appdevelopertips.com. Come on over and stop by when you get a chance. There's lots of great resources for you. The first couple of pieces of lingo are very similar, and I'm going to go through them rather quickly, but they're all kind of related. The first is DAU, Daily Active Users. This stands for the total number of users who access your app in a single 24-hour period. The next one that's related is WAU, Weekly Active Users. These are the total number of users who access your app in a single 7-day period. And lastly is the MAU, Monthly Active Users. These are the total number of users who access your app in a single month's time frame. Generally, this is a 30-day time frame, etc. Now, DAU, WAU, MAU, how are they different? How do they relate? Daily active users is best to use to monitor the current health of your app, particularly after a release, etc. When we release new code, are we immediately going down compared to yesterday? Are we immediately rising, etc.? So it's best for real-time information, ops style work, etc. However, there's a lot of variances. Saturday probably will get less traffic than a Tuesday on your game, etc. Who knows? It depends on your demographics, etc. But that's why WAU is often a little bit more useful to tell whether or not your app is growing or declining. You will get variances on a day-to-day basis based on the day of the week you're using, but also based upon events that are happening in the world. If there's certain sporting events or holidays, etc., you'll have raises or declines in your app traffic. So WAU helps to equalize that a little bit and give you insight into whether or not your app is growing or declining. So then finally, MAU, how is that when used in comparison? MAU is used to evaluate the overall strength, the overall value of your app, particularly compared to other apps in the industry. This is the metric you want to use when you're doing your competitive research against other users in the industry, because if they have a sale that's really good and just kind of blows their economy out of the water, their DAU and WAU will obviously spike up. But the sale only lasts for a short period of time, so their MAU will equalize over, a month's time frame. So, in summary, DAU is best used for ops style, are we healthy at the moment? Are we growing? Are we declining in terms of a recent release, etc.? WAU, Weekly Active Users, best used to evaluate whether you're growing or declining on, over a time basis. How are you doing compared to the exact same time frame last week? That gives you the most equalized value. And lastly, MAU, used to evaluate the overall health of your app, and more importantly, how are you doing compared to others in the industry? Now let's move on to ARPDAU, and you also see this one in terms of ARP against your weekly active users and against your monthly active users, but we won't go into all of them. Let's just focus on ARPDAU against your daily active users. This is your average revenue per daily active user. This gives you the best insight into how valuable each one of your players are. So you take your total revenue, divide it by your DAU, and that gives you a value, let's say 10 cents per average, per player that comes into your game. Now this value is going to vary significantly depending on the type of game that you've produced and the type of industry that it's in. For example, if your game is, let's say, in the invest and express category, often those users don't play as many games at one time, and thus you will have a very high number of users playing at once, but those users don't stick around for very long. You might have an average lifespan of 30 minutes or 30 days to 90 days, etc. However, if you have a game in the casino genre, those users play multiple casino games at one time, and they stick around for a lot longer. So often you will have a larger user base in the invest and express category, and you will have a smaller user base in the casino category, but you will have a larger ARPDAU value in the casino category and a lower ARPDAU value in the Invest and Express category. So it's often good not to necessarily compare your ARPDAU values across industries or across games, because there's a lot of factors that can improve it. However, it is very healthy to analyze your ARPDAU compared to your own past. Over time, you should be working towards increasing your own personal ARPDAU and definitely watching it to make sure that it's not decreasing. Let's jump over and start talking about some mechanics now, in-game mechanics. The first one up is the buildables mechanic. Now, the buildables mechanic allows users to combine multiple lower valued items into a higher valued item. A perfect example of this could be making a building. If you're going to build a house, let's say, then you need some nails, you need some wood, you might need some, bricks, or whatever the case may be. These lower valued items might be hard or might be easier to get, and you might get a lot of them. So you can combine them into a higher valued item, a house, and get more experience or more value out of the house than you did the wood and the nails, etc. Collectibles. Collectibles allow users to collect up similar items in a set predefined collection, then redeem the entire collection for a higher valued item. A good example of this could be a collection of fruit. You might have an apple, an orange, a banana, etc. You can get all of those items and then trade them in for a higher valued item that relates. Maybe in this case you're trading them in for a fruit basket. Now, the thing with collectibles is that you can change the difficulty in receiving some of the items inside of the collection. That's where you really get the value out of the collectibles mechanic. Let's assume that your apples and your oranges are very easy to get. You can then change the value for the bananas and make them very hard to get. Then the user constantly works on trying to achieve that collection, which gets them to work towards getting that banana. So it gives them something to do with a reward at the end of turning all that stuff in for a fruit basket. Consumables are the ability for a user to take an item and trade it in to perform an action or receive a higher valued item or experience within the game. The most common use of this is the energy mechanic. And so you have, let's say 10 values of energy, 10 energy points, and you trade one of those energy points in to perform a round inside of your game. Or you might have, some in-game currency like, keys or diamonds or something like that. You take a diamond and you can trade it in to get access to a special game board that's over on the side of your game. So the basic concept is you take an item, whatever it is in your game, and trade it in for something different. The way that a lot of games make money is they lock these consumable items that are traded in, the keys or the diamonds or the coins, etc., behind in-game purchases. So the only way that you can get these consumable items is by buying them. The achievement system. The achievement system allows users to track their progression against a defined goal. At the end of that goal, a reward is often provided for reaching the goal, etc. In this case, these might be items that are not necessarily event-based, but more progression-based. So you might think of it like if you're a battle-based game. You might have an achievement that says perform 5 battles or defend your home base against 10 different attacks. These are things that you have to do inside of the game, and progress is tracked along earning that particular goal. Once you reach that goal, you get a reward. Watch to earn. Watch to earn allows users to participate or watch a video ad in exchange for some kind of in-game currency or item. This is a way to help monetize your app and grow revenue out of users who generally don't want to pay pay money in game for a richer experience. Users might have a hesitation to pay $5 for in-game currency, so you can say, okay, well, here is a video advertisement that you can participate in as an alternate option, and I will give you in-game currency for participating in that. Quests. Quests are sometimes very similar to achievements, but they are different in a very specific way. A quest is often a specific task for a user to accomplish, something like build a house, etc. These are often used in succession to each other to provide a character development storyline. For example, when you introduce a character into a game, you might first have to train that character. So your first quest is to go and train up so that you can participate in a battle. Then your second quest is to go and arm yourself with a particular type of weapon. Then your third task is to go and get some kind of a shield or defense mechanism to protect yourself. Your fourth quest is to go and participate in your first battle, etc. So these are quests that help develop a character or develop a common storyline inside of the game, whereas achievements are kind of designed to be a little bit more haphazard and random, whereas quests help you actually feel like you're immersed in the game's story. The harvest mechanic. The harvest mechanic allows a user to perform an action and then return after some designated amount of time and receive an associated reward. These are most commonly used in the farming style invest and express games. Let's say that you plant the seed for a strawberry crop, and you can come back in 10 minutes to receive the reward for planting that crop. It's a very simple mechanic, but it allows you to build up your user engagement. You're giving your users a reason to come back after a designated amount of time. Really helps to get them hooked and want to come back to the game. Now, often game makers will also put on some sort of a restriction, meaning you can't receive the reward until 10 minutes have passed, but the reward expires after, let's say, an hour's worth of time. So you have to come back within a designated amount of start and end time in order to receive the full reward. Segmentation. Segmentation in mobile apps is the ability to divide your users into various groups and provide some sort of unique experience to each group. Let's say that you're testing out a brand new feature and you don't know whether or not it should go this way or that way, or it should be designed with this messaging or that messaging, etc. You can segment your user base into different groups and provide them, different messaging in this group and different messaging in this group. Then you can evaluate your in-game statistics to see which version of the feature performed better. Then you can release that feature, that version of the feature, to your entire user base to give them an optimized game experience. This is a much more efficient way of testing the true value of two different ways of implementing a feature compared to just basic, on-site user testing, because on-site user testing often doesn't represent what the entire user base might want or experience. So this is the best way to get out details and insights into what your user base as a whole would prefer to see. Well, thank you for joining us. Again, visit us at appdevelopertips.com for more handy information such as these lingos and terms.